Alcetas, suicide, 320 BCE. One of the finest examples in history of someone who achieved power through the good graces of nepotism and lacked any semblance of ability, Alcetas was Perdiccas' brother. Alcetas served as a minor general in the Indian campaign of Alexander and did not achieve high office until Perdiccas became regent and needed reliable allies. In 322, Alcetas accompanied his brother to Sardis, where a political crisis immediately broke out when they learned that Alexander's half-sister Sinane, who was the widow of Amyntas IV, was coming to the city to marry her daughter Adia to Philip III, Alexander's mentally disabled half-brother. Alcetas went out to meet this small party with a detachment of men. His orders were to capture them and bring them in alive, for, as Perdiccas understood, murdering a relative of the now legendary Alexander was a politically fatal act. True to form, Alcetas somehow bungled the situation and had to fight against the royal mother and daughter, both of whom were proficient at arms and had Illyrian training. Some of Alcetas' men may have died or been wounded by the women's javelins, but eventually the soldiers managed to kill Sinane and capture the 15-year-old Adia. It was this mistake which later set up Adia's grasp at power and gave Perdiccas' enemies an opening to challenge his legitimacy as the protector of the Argead dynasty. When Perdiccas' enemies organized and began to move out, Perdiccas chose to entrust supreme command in Asia Minor to Eumenes and assigned Alcetas to be his subordinate. Not only did this make Alcetas subordinate to a Greek general who was not senior to him in any way, but it also relegated him to the secondary theater, as Perdiccas' strategy was to strike south to eliminate Ptolemy, then link up with Eumenes to defeat Craterus and Antipater. Alcetas wanted to surrender to Craterus, and he was actively undermining the Greek general Eumenes' authority, thus forcing Eumenes to make a hasty cavalry attack on both flanks, which led to a surprising and great victory. Even after this victory, Alcetas seemed to doubt Eumenes and was upset about having to work with him. When Perdiccas was killed by his own men while on campaign in Egypt, Perdiccas' men joined Ptolemy's in an assembly, which tried and condemned to death all of Perdiccas' generals. This meant that Alcetas was now forced to work with Eumenes, even though he felt like he should assume the mantle of leadership since he was in fact Macedonian, and he had been the brother of a former regent. Unable to endure the indignity of serving directly under Eumenes, Alcetas took his troops and marched south to southern Asia Minor. There he met Attalus, who at first refused to join forces with him until he was defeated at sea by the Rhodians. Now united, Alcetas and Attalus fought and lost against Antigonus in Pisidia. Alcetas fled to the city of Termessus, which he had patronized earlier. Despite the attachment of some of the younger citizens of the city's elders turned over the fugitive in order to avoid incurring Antigonus's wrath. Insubordinate, arrogant, and incompetent, Alcetas was always an obstacle to the success of his friends and allies. To avoid further punishment and humiliation, Alcetas chose suicide.